Oi there crew, this is your captain speaking, and today we're finally talking about Art Fight. This is my third year participating, so I thought I'd go over how it works and some helpful tips that can hopefully help both beginners and more seasoned fighters. Feel free to skip to different sections with the timestamps, but without further ado, let's set sail. Now, what exactly is Art Fight? It is an annual art gifting game that takes place in the month of July. Participants are divided into two teams. You can either let your team be selected randomly or choose one yourself. Every year has a different theme assigned to the teams. Last year's was crystals versus fossils, but this year's one hasn't been announced yet. It will be on the 14th of June though. You can attack others by making art of their OCs. Based on the type of art you drew, you get a certain amount of points. You can attack participants on both the same or opposing team. Attacking someone on the same team as you is called friendly fire and gets less points than attacking on the opposing team. When the event is finished, all points are tallied up to determine the winning team. Now, there are still some other terms that I haven't covered. First is a defense. It is an attack that someone made on your OC. If someone sends you a defense and you attack them back, or vice versa, that is considered a revenge. If you revenge a revenge, then it becomes a revenge chain. Lastly, there is something called a mass attack. This is when someone takes a whole bunch of characters and draws them in one artwork. So, where and how do you participate in Art Fight? It's hosted on a website, specifically artfight.net. You'll have to make an account and log in if you haven't already. You can't actually navigate between profiles or look at characters without logging in. Once the teams have been announced, you can set your team in this little drop-down list under Team Settings. Next, I'll go over how to navigate the site and where to find everything, so if you're already familiar with that, feel free to skip to this timestamp. Just a heads up, I recorded the next few sections in real time, so it might be very awkward and I might have missed some things. And we're on the Artfight webpage. Depending on when you open the website, this block here might look different and the teams might have already been revealed. Below that we have some basic stuff you need to take a look at before participating for your first time at least. Then we have some recent characters, news posts and featured members. Going back to the top, we're going to take a look at the header. This button will take you back to the Artfight homepage, no matter which page you're on. This will open a link to the Discord. Here you can take a look at all the general info you need to take a look at, like the rules and how to categorize attacks and filter them as well. The next button is only when you want to support Artfight regarding monetary donations or merch, but that's not available right now. So if you don't have an account already, you'll need to register, but I already have one, so I'm going to log in real quick. Once you're logged in, you'll see that two more buttons have appeared here. This one is just to help you find other users, characters, and attacks. But you can also use tag search, which can be really helpful if you're looking to draw something very specific. The next button is the submit button. Currently, only character is listed here, but once the event starts, attack will be listed here as well. On the other side, your team will be listed. If you're new or haven't participated yet, this will say spectator. But we're going to go ahead and click on our username to go to our profile page. Everyone's page will look sort of the same unless they've used coding to change the whole layout and everything, but generally you'll see the username, when they were last seen unless they've decided to hide it, the date that they joined and their team. The only difference you'll see on another person's profile is in this top bar, where you'll have the follow button, and once you follow them, you can manage your follow either by unfollowing them or changing the notifications. Here you can send them a private message, here you can report them, and here you can just hide the theme if they have a custom theme, as well as block them. Since we're on the profile tab, we'll be able to see the general profile they've typed out for themselves, as well as maybe links they've added for you to check out if you're interested in looking at their art outside of Artfight, as well as a blog to show their recent followers. Below that, you can just see some basic stuff like attacks, defenses, and their characters, as well as comments on their profile, unless they've decided to hide that. For the next tab, we have the statistics. This just shows some general information about how much they've attacked, how many attacks they've received, and the most important thing, or the most notable thing you'd want to take a look at here, is the battle ratio. So if this is higher than 50%, they attack more than they receive defenses. So people generally recommend that you attack people with a battle ratio higher than 50% to get a revenge. But I don't think that necessarily means that they're revenge. It really just means that they attack more people than they get attacked, which doesn't mean that they revenge them, but it is something to keep in mind. Not that you should attack people with the thought of getting them to attack you back. Below all these stats you can see their achievements, like the teams they've been on and if their teams won in previous years, as well as some achievements for submitting attacks. The next tab is the character tab. The first thing you'll see is the character permissions. You'll always want to take a look at this before you decide or start drawing one of this user's characters. This is a list of the types of things you can and can't draw of their characters. You can also filter out their characters by specific tags if you'd only like to draw a specific type of character. And then you'll just see all of their character thumbnails down here. The next two tabs on the profile are just attacks and defenses, so we're not going to go over that because it's pretty self-explanatory. We'll be moving on to the character profiles. On a character profile, you'll see the character's name, their ID, which you'll be using to link any attacks you submit to this specific character, as well as the owner and the date they were created. To bookmark a character, you can just go to their profile and bookmark them from here. You can even add notes if you'd like, but I don't really do that. You can also choose which folder to add them to. And once Artfight starts, you'll be able to attack them from here as well, so you don't need to do the whole copy pasting for the ID necessarily. You can also report a profile if you need to. Then we have three tabs over here, but we're going to take a look at this first. They might have some different images of the character for you to reference, as well as connections here if they've made any. You can also access the connections from here. This will allow you to see how the different characters view each other. I like putting in little quotes. I think it's cute. So let's get back to that profile tab. Below that, you'll see whatever the information they've filled out about the character, as well as some specific character permissions if they've decided to add any. Always take a look at this before attacking a character. Even if you have read the global permissions, there might be some extra stuff you need to know for this specific character. If the character isn't owned by this user, they might have another name here or a designer here. And below that, there's just some tags for how the character is filtered out. Below everything is a comment section again, which this character doesn't have any comments on. So I think that's that for that. So let's move over to the settings. In the settings, the first tab is the user and site settings. Here you can change your avatar and set specific filters and themes for how you want to experience the website. You can also mark whether you want your characters to be visible in search pages and randomizers. The security tab has some personal information, so I'm not going to click on that, and you need to use a password anyway. So let's move on to profile. For the profile tab, you can hide your last seen status as well as disable profile comments. Over here you can add in links to your other socials if you want people to find you outside of Artfight. This last little block is for editing your profile description. I'll show you how to do that later or before, depending on how I edited the video. The next tab is character permissions. Here you can edit in what you allow and don't allow with art of your characters, but you can also make it so that people can't request to connect their character to yours if you're not into that or you don't really have any character connections with characters that aren't your own already. Next tabs are just followed users and followers, which is pretty self-explanatory. The count information is something I'm not going to click on because that's going to show a bunch of stuff again. The contribution history just shows how much money you've spent to support Artfight. Blocklist is where you can block users or unblock users if you like. And then this tab I didn't know existed, but you can click here to just download all your defense images that you've received, which can be really helpful and make it so that you don't have to go through every defense profile to actually download the defenses if you'd like to have them. And this final tab is just where you delete your account. So it's not something I'm going to use, and I can't access it anyway. To show you guys what it looks like, the next thing in this drop-down list is the team settings. Here you'll be able to set your team once I believe when they're announced you can set it, but I don't remember. Either way, once the event starts, you'll be able to change or set your team here. You can also have it the system choose a random team for you if you'd like. Under the report page, you can view any updates on reports you've made regarding characters or user profiles. The manage section is just for your characters. Here you can edit them, hide them, or like archive them, which removes all of the images attached to the character profile. But you can also submit a new character from here, or just reorder them however you'd like. Usually people put their top characters in this top line here. They usually get the most attacks because these are also the ones visible on your main profile page. Next we have the bookmarks page. Here you can place bookmarks into specific folders. Under the bookmarks tab, you can just select a bunch of bookmarks, move them, delete them, whichever you need to do. You can move them to specific folders if you need to, but for now I'm just going to leave these as is. Next we have some attacks. So this is where you can view all the attacks you've posted in the past. And here are the achievements that we've already seen under my profile page, as well as a space where you can see people you follow. Under that are just some general message stuff, your private messages, attacks you receive, any mod mail. Usually, I think the subscriptions one is where you'll see notifications for people you follow, which is regarding their characters or attacks they've made. Right now I don't have any. As you can see, I've already cleared all of them. Once you click on submit character, you'll be taken to this form page where you'll need to type in the character's name, any basic info about them you'd like to share, any permissions that might differ from your global character permissions. You can even disable the global permissions here, and add in any external links to a video or whichever website you'd like to. If there's a website where there are more images of them, for example. You'll also need to apply filters based on the character's profile and also based on the specific images you're uploading. Scrolling back to the top, you'll also need to add in any credits if someone else designed the character for you, or maybe wrote their story. You can even link a species sheet in here. Here you can upload the main image for the character. I usually upload the same image for both of these. Like I'll do this and then just make my thumbnail here on Artfight itself. It just feels a lot easier and gives me a better idea of what the thumbnail will actually look like with this little window over here. Then you can mark whether you created the image or if the image itself needs a content filter. And just keep in mind the filters are not optional, so you have to mark this if it needs a content filter. At the bottom of the page, you'll be able to add in any tags that are relevant to the character. Like for example, this one will be mermaid, of course, and then stingray. Just submit the character. And once you've submitted a character, you'll be taken to the character page. Here you can also view their attacks like I've showed you previously. To edit their profile further, you can click over here and move over to their images. Here you can add in any additional images or change the ones you've already added, as well as the sort order for them. This last tab is for the connections. You'll paste the character ID for the character you want to connect to them in here, check it and submit it. Then they'll appear down here in a little list where you can edit the text for both of these connections. In this section here, you can allow or disallow any requests for connections if you need to. Whether you're editing your profile, a character profile, or character permissions, I recommend making the editor full screen by clicking on this button. At the top of the editor, you'll see a bunch of buttons. When you hover over a button on desktop, there is a tooltip that pops up to tell you what the button does. It can be a bit daunting at first, but I'll quickly go over everything starting from left to right. The first few buttons are text formatting settings, which are bold, italic, underline, strike through, subscript or superscript. The next few are your text alignment settings, where you can align the text to the left, right or center. Then we have some font settings, where you can change your text to a heading, but also change the font, size and color. The next button functions as a highlighter, and the one after it clears any of the text formatting you applied previously. After that, we have some basic text editor options like undo, redo and find and replace. It's followed by an array of list settings, whether you want it to be numbered, bullet points, or just play with different indentations. This button inserts a table. When inserting a table, you can choose how many columns and rows it should have. You can also add or remove some afterwards, so you don't have to worry about getting the perfect number of columns or rows at the start. When you insert a table, it has its own settings that pop up when you click on it. They add a table header, add a table footer, delete the table, insert a row or delete a row, insert or delete a column, change the overall settings of the table, split or merge cells. You can also change the cells formatting and set vertical alignment, set horizontal alignment, and finally, this one changes the cell style. Going back to the top bar, this button allows you to insert a section of code without opening the code editor. This button creates an expandable section that you can extend and hide. Next are the insert tools that allow you to add a basic line divider, a link, and an image. This one allows you to add one of the Artfight emoticons, while this one allows you to tag a user. Lots of people tag their friends so that people can go check them out too. This next one we already know is the full screen button. Clicking on it again will take you out of full screen mode again. This one next to it is the code editor. And last but not least, this is the help button. Clicking on it brings up a list of basic shortcuts, which will be really helpful for people not familiar with these keyboard shortcuts. Once you're done editing again, make sure to press the submit button, otherwise you might just lose all your progress and settings. When editing your profile, you generally want to have at least a short self-introduction, letting people know who you are and maybe what type of attacks you do. If you plan to share your attacks and defenses, I recommend adding in a warning for that on your profile. I also recommend doing this if you don't want people to share your attacks and defenses. While you work on your profile, be mindful of the colors you choose for the text. The site has both light mode and dark mode, so certain colors that look great in one mode may be unreadable in others. I worked around this by placing all my text into a table with only one column. That way I know it'll look nice for me and still be readable to everyone. A good alternative to actually editing in a whole profile is using one of the profile cards that the Artfight team releases each year. Apart from actually using it on your profile, it's a good way to advertise your Artfight profile on other platforms. To add images to your profile, you need a link to that image. There are a bunch of free-to-use profile decor options on Tumblr. Just make sure to credit people in your profile if they require it. When you find an image you like, just right-click and copy the image address, not the image itself. Once you have a link, you can click on the Add Image button and just paste the link in there. After that, you can just resize the button to the size you want it to be. If you ever want to reuse an image that is already inserted, you can just copy and paste it normally. If you want to include your own images, you need to host them somewhere. People usually recommend uploading those images to Imgur. That's also what I use. That's how I got my own pixel art in my profile. There are things besides GIFs and images you can use to add flavor to your profile. You could set up a hit list, which is just a form where people essentially apply to be attacked by you. Generally, people just ask for usernames and characters, but you can add as much or as little as you like to the form. Mine is linked in the description if you'd like to take a look. You could also include an attack priority list. This will let everyone know who you'll attack first and which types of attacks you might not get to. I included one even though I'm pretty sure I will stray from it a little. I'm really bad at going back to old bookmarks, because I always find characters that I get really excited about. People also commonly list their past art fight teams and their number of attacks and defenses for that year. It's a really fun way to look back at things. I mainly included it in mine because I really like looking back at it. Something else you can do is set up a public goal for yourself, just to let everyone know how many attacks you'd like to make, and be sure to update the amount you've completed so far as the event progresses. Please just make sure that if you do this, that it's an achievable goal. The event is just for fun, so there's no need to unnecessarily push or burn yourself out. I've also seen some people include small chibis or thumbnails of some of their characters on their homepage and linking each image to that character's profile. I was thinking of maybe making a pixel art version of each of my characters to display like this, but we'll see if I get the chance to do that. Now, last year I saw a really fun profile edition going around, but I never got around to adding it. It's a random character button. It's exactly what it sounds like, a button that sends you to a random character on your profile. To set this up, you need to go to the Universal Sig Rotator website and create an account. You then copy-paste each character profile URL into the list. Once it's done, you just copy the link at the top and add it into your profile using the hyperlink button. I connected my link to the pixel gumball machine I drew in my last video. Lastly, I want to mention what I did last year and plan to do again. I made characters based on the team themes. It's the same character but with alternate designs. I plan to reuse the base I created for her. I even named her Fig Heart, which is an anagram for art fight. Moving on to the character permissions, you can add in just about anything, whether you like your characters being drawn in a certain way and really don't want them being drawn in others. You could even add a height chart in here to show people how tall your characters are in proportion to each other. Details like that get lost when the characters are on separate pages. And remember, you can go into each character's profile and give them permissions specific to them. I decided to use that section to give drawing ideas, list what I'd like to see, and of course, design elements that shouldn't be left out or changed. You can only submit an attack to Artfight once the event has started on July 1st and you have chosen a team. Once that's done, you can go up here and click submit. There will be an attack option once the event starts. You can also attack a character straight from their profile page if you'd rather do that. I can't really show you what it looks like right now since the event hasn't started yet, but I can tell you what kind of information you'll need to fill in. First off, you'll need to provide a title for the art piece. I usually make this something related to the character name or the situation I portrayed, but you can get more creative with it. You can also choose to include a public and/or private description. I usually opt for a private description where I compliment the character and share a link to the full res artwork. If you're not attacking the character from their profile page, you'll need the ID number. That is the number that shows up next to their name on their profile page. You'll also be asked to rate your attack yourself. This will determine how many points you get. The explanation for how to do this can be found under the Artfight guides. I always take a look at these as I submit every attack to make sure I'm rating it correctly. The general things you need to take a look at for illustrations are the size and how finished it is. You can also make 3D models, crafts and animations, which are all scored differently. I don't really want to go into depth for this because I think everyone should go look over how to categorize the attacks themselves. When submitting an attack, you will have the option to find revengeable attacks. This will automatically search for and link unrevenged attacks you've received from the user. If the two of you have a bunch of these, they'll be linked into a nice little chain. Lastly, you will have the option to select whether your creation is polished. This increases the amount of points you get for the attack. Marking each attack you make as polished can get you into trouble though, so please don't do that. Be sure to only use it for attacks that you put extra time and effort into, or that you're really proud of. Next, I'll be going over some general tips to keep in mind for your art fight. If you decide to participate, you'll probably want to prepare any reference sheets ahead of time. This doesn't necessarily mean you need to draw beautifully polished professional reference sheets. Something I've done a few times is take any full body drawing of a character and just remove the shading. It's very important that you have a flat color drawing on their page or the color swatches next to them. I recommend both. Some artists like color picking straight off of the character. Now, before Artfight starts, be sure to download or screenshot any references of characters you'd like to attack. The site is said to usually go down or slow down at the start of Artfight. due to the increased amounts of traffic. I've never actually seen this, but that might just be because Artfight starts at night for me, so I'm usually busy or asleep. Even then, I download a few references anyway, just in case. Remember to pace yourself throughout the month. I know it can be tempting to push yourself to draw as much as possible, but if you're not used to drawing so much, so regularly, it's a surefire way to burn yourself out or even injure yourself. I know it can be tempting to do so when you see all these artists pumping out attacks almost every day, but there's no need to feel bad for making only a few attacks throughout the event. I know that might seem silly coming from me, but I already draw almost every day, so Artfight doesn't really change that much for me. While participating, keep in mind that Artfight is an art gifting game, not an art trading game. You are not entitled to receiving a revenge from anyone you made art for. I know it's nice when it happens, but you should be drawing the character because you like them, not because you want something in return. With that being said, I do understand the feeling of wanting art of your characters too. To get more attacks, you need to get eyes on your account. To do this, I recommend that you announce on any of your other socials that you are participating. But don't just stop there, check out other artist posts and announcements about Artfight and interact with them. And even if you don't use any other social media platforms, you can interact with others on the Artfight website itself. Go leave some comments on some profiles and character pages. Interacting with artists you wouldn't have otherwise is part of what I find most fun about Artfight. Following someone can also grab their attention, but I recommend you do so sparingly. In the past, I've had the habit of following every good artist I come across, or following anyone that followed me. This stacks up to a point where you can't possibly check each of them out pretty fast, especially if you follow everyone back. What if you do receive art though? Well, I and many others consider it good etiquette to leave a thank you message in the attacks comments. From the other side, it's always nice to receive an excited message about the art you made. Just keep in mind that you're still not entitled to it. Some artists receive hundreds or thousands of attacks, which obviously makes it harder to leave a comment for every single one. Something that has made my past art fights more enjoyable is not associating myself with any drama that inevitably arises. When it does pop up on my feed though, I usually don't watch or engage at all. I honestly recommend you do the same, especially during the event. That's about all the tips I could think about, but if there are any returning artists watching, feel free to leave your tips down in the comments. And for the last section, I left the rules. Going over the rules is one of the most important but also most boring parts of prepping for Artfight. They are quite extensive, but I'll go over the gist of it. I advise you go read the rules for yourself though, regardless of whether there is something you're unsure about or not. As for recording, some rules might have changed, so I'll either make a note of it in the editing or in the comment section. The general rules are: you must be 13 years of age or older to register and participate. Only one active account is allowed per person. Do not attempt to impersonate any site members, especially staff. Hateful or discriminatory content and behavior is prohibited. Explicit or fetish content in any form is not allowed. Content that is illegal to depict under US federal law is not allowed. All site content must be filtered according to the filtering guides. Content that may violate, harm, or threaten the safety or personal rights of anyone is not allowed. Artfight takes no responsibility for the risks associated with exchanging any personal information. The upload rules are: all artworks and characters posted to Artfight must be your own or ones you have explicit permission to use with credit. Artfight does not tolerate the use of any AI-generated content. Characters uploaded to Artfight must be substantially original and capable of being rendered standalone in attacks. Attacks must be wholly original and must be made specifically for Artfight during the duration of the event. Bases, character creators, and doll makers may be used for character images, but must be credited. They may not be used for attacks. Photography that you do not own or have permission to use may not be posted by itself. Characters and designs based on other media, fandoms, canon characters, and alternate universes must provide credit to their inspiration on their page. Characters based on real-life events and cultures must be portrayed respectfully. All art submitted as an attack must clearly display effort and respect the original character's designs, form, and permissions. Lastly, there are some rules that are meant to uphold a certain vibe around the event. Do not sell or trade any designs you receive from others unless the creator gives you explicit permission to do so. Do not use art received or made during Artfight for profit. Do not beg, manipulate, or harass others to interact with you. Point farming is prohibited. Be kind to all users and staff, including yourself. Users may link to or advertise general art sales on their profiles. All tags must be created for another user. And with that, this video is done. I might have missed some things that are painfully obvious, so if anyone catches that, feel free to correct me or add on to what I said. But that is all for today, crew. Be sure to like and subscribe so that I can see you again for our next voyage. Bye bye!